Hey, boys and girls. I just wanted to get on here again and talk to you. I'm sure that you have all heard by now that we will not be returning back to school for this remainder of the school year. I know that we didn't get to end our year like we wanted to, and that we didn't get even a proper goodbye. And my heart is so hurting right now because we didn't get to end the way that I wanted to end, and I just apologize for that. I'm very sorry, but that doesn't mean that second grade's over yet. We still have till May 22nd. I am still your teacher, and I still love you very, very much, and I will always be here for you. Even next year in third grade, I'm still going to be here for you. 5 years from now, I'm still going to be here for you. 10 years, you call me, you come find me. I'll always be here for you. But just because we will not be going back to school anymore does not mean that I'm not your teacher anymore. I'm still your teacher, and I still love you, and you mean so much to me. Okay? I really want you to know that you mean so much to me. And we're still a class. We're still learning. We're on iReady doing those lessons. I'm so proud of my friends who have gone on and completed this week's assignments. It is Friday, so they're due today. So I have a few students who haven't completed those assignments. Please make sure you're doing those assignments. If you have the written packet, then you should be sending me pictures of what you're doing so I can make sure that you're doing it and how you're doing on those. So with all of that being said, we are not done learning. It's not summer break yet. We're still learning. We're still in second grade. You're still mine for a little bit longer. We're just going to be doing it over the computer for the rest of this time, or the written packets if you have those. So I am going to try a Zoom with you guys, and I will send a link and the password to the meeting probably Monday, and we will have our meeting Tuesday. And we're going to do it, I'm sorry, not Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to do it Wednesday at let's do Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Okay, Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And it's, like I said, I'll send the link and the password, and I'll also instructions on how to do it. And you can do it on a phone or a computer, I've been told. And we are going to do it every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. When that might change, but for right now, we're going to say that we're doing it every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And for the first one, we're going to do a show and tell. So you can bring something from your house to the video, and you can show it to me and to all of our friends who join, okay? My biggest concern with Zoom is that we have to remember that it's just like we're in school. You don't speak unless you're spoken to, or unless I've called on you. You have to raise your hand, okay? Because we can't hear each other if we're all talking at once, okay? We know that. So let's remember that we're going to practice good classroom behavior, even though we're not in the classroom. But I cannot wait to see all of your smiling, sweet faces, and hear from all of you, and hear what you've been doing, and just hear from you and catch up. So we're not going to do I'm not going to teach or anything. This first one is just, let's talk. I miss you, okay? So Wednesday at 1 o'clock, bring a show and tell, okay? And so now that I've kind of gotten some of that stuff out of the way, I'm going to read another chapter to you. So we're reading Stone Fox. So if you watched my other video, then you heard chapter 1. So now we're starting chapter 2, called Little Willie. And just to remind you, I always like to, when we start reading again, I like to remind you of a few things that had just happened. So remember that Willie is the little boy and his dog Searchlight is this one. And Willie always wakes up in time for breakfast, except for one time it happened. And remember, his grandfather gave his food to the chickens in the chicken coop. So that happened. And then the next time that he woke up late was because grandfather didn't wake up. He wasn't out of bed. And so Willie ran in there and was wondering what was wrong with him and couldn't figure out. So he went to Doc Smith to see if she's a doctor, to see if she could figure out what was wrong. And Willie said the doctor didn't know. And so Willie said, I'll find out what's wrong and make it better. Okay. So we're going to read more. Chapter 2, Little Willie. A 10-year-old boy cannot run a farm. Remember, they live on a potato farm in Wyoming. A 10-year-old boy cannot run a farm. But you can't tell a 10-year-old boy that, especially a boy like Little Willie. Grandfather grew potatoes, and that's exactly what Little Willie was going to do. The harvest was just weeks away, and Little Willie was sure that if the crop was a good one, Grandfather would get well. Hadn't Grandfather been overly concerned about the crop this year? Hadn't he insisted that every square inch of land be planted? Hadn't he gotten up in the middle of the night to check the irrigation? Boys and girls, irrigation is what waters all of the crops. Gonna be our best ever, Willie, he had said. And he had said it over and over again. Yes, after the harvest, everything would be all right. Little Willie was sure of it. But Doc Smith wasn't. He's getting worse, she said 3 weeks later. It's best to face these things, Willie. Your grandfather is going to die. He'll get better. You'll see. Wait till after the harvest. Doc Smith shook her head. I think you should consider letting Miss Peacock in town take care of him, like she does those other sickly folks. He'll be in good hands until the end comes. Doc Smith stepped up into the wagon. You can come live with me until we make plans. She looked at Searchlight. I'm sure there's a farmer in these parts who needs a good work dog. Searchlight growled, causing Doc Smith's horse, Rex, to pull the wagon forward a few feet. Believe me, Willie, it's better this way. No! Shouted Little Willie. We're a family, don't you see? We've got to stick together. Searchlight barked loudly, causing the horse to rear up on its hind legs and then take off running. Doc Smith jammed her foot on the brake, but it didn't do any good. The wagon disappeared down the road in a cloud of dust. Little Willie and Searchlight looked at each other, and then Little Willie broke out laughing. Searchlight joined him by barking again. Little Willie knelt down, took Searchlight by the ears, and looked into her eyes. She had the greenest eyes you've ever seen. I won't ever give you away. Ever. I promise. He put his arms around the dog's strong neck and held her tightly. I love you, Searchlight. And Searchlight understood, for she had heard those words many times before. That evening, Little Willie made a discovery. He was sitting at the foot of Grandfather's bed playing the harmonica. He wasn't as good as Grandfather by a long shot, And whenever he missed a note, Searchlight would put her head back and howl. Once, when little Willie was way off key, Searchlight actually grabbed the harmonica in her mouth and ran out of the room with it. "Do you want me to play some more?" little Willie asked Grandfather, knowing very well that Grandfather would not answer. Grandfather had not talked, not one word, in over 3 weeks. But something happened that was almost like talking. Grandfather put his hand down on the bed with his palm facing upward. Little Willie looked at the hand for a long time and then asked in a whisper, "Does that mean yes?" And Grandfather closed his hand slowly and then opened it again. Little Willie rushed to the side of the bed. His eyes were wild with excitement. "What's the sign for no?" Grandfather turned his hand over and laid it flat on the bed. Palm down meant no. Palm up meant yes. Before the night was over, they had worked out other signals in their hand and finger code. One finger meant "I'm hungry." 2 fingers meant water. But most of the time, little Willie just asked questions that Grandfather could answer with either a yes or a no. And Searchlight seemed to know what was going on, for she would lick Grandfather's hand every time he made a sign. The next day, little Willie began to prepare for the harvest. There was a lot of work to be done. The underground shed where the potatoes would be stored until they could be sold had to be cleaned. The potato sacks had to be inspected and mended if need be. The plow had to be sharpened. But most important, because Grandfather's old mar had died last winter, a horse to pull the plow had to be located and rented. It was going to be difficult to find a horse because farmers were not interested in overworking their animals for any price. Grandfather kept his money in a strong box under the boards in the corner of his bedroom. Little Willie got the box out and opened it. It was empty, except for some letters that little Willie didn't bother to read. There was no money to rent a horse. No money for anything else, for that matter. Little Willie had had no idea that they were broke, that they didn't have any money. Everything they had needed since Grandfather took sick, little Willie had gotten at Lester's General Store on credit against this year's crop. That means, boys and girls, so everything he went to the store to get since Grandfather had been sick, he didn't take money. The store let him have it to borrow it on credit so that like saying, "I'm promised to pay you back when we make money on the crops." Okay? But if there's not any crops, they won't have any money. So wonder what's going to happen. Let's find out. No wonder Grandfather was so concerned. No wonder he had gotten sick. Little Willie had to think of something, and quick. It was now the middle of September. The potatoes they had planted in early June took from 90 to 120 days to mature, which meant they must be harvested soon. Besides, the longer he waited, the more danger there was that an early freeze would destroy the crop. And little Willie was sure that if the crop died, Grandfather would too. A friend of Grandfather's offered to help, but little Willie said no. "Don't accept help unless you can pay for it," Grandfather had always said, especially from friends. And then little Willie remembered something, his college money. He had enough to rent a horse, pay for help, everything. He told Grandfather about his plan, but Grandfather signaled no. Little Willie pleaded with him. He begged, but Grandfather just repeated, no, no, no. The situation appeared hopeless, but little Willie was determined. He would dig up the potatoes by hand if he had to. And then Searchlight solved the problem. She walked over and stood in front of the plow. In her mouth was the harness she wore during the winter when she would pull the snow sled. Little Willie shook his head. Digging up a field is not the same. Sorry, guys. Digging up a field is not the same as riding over snow, he told her. But Searchlight just stood there and would not move. You don't have the strength, girl. Little Willie tried to talk her out of it, but Searchlight had made up her mind. So Searchlight, friends, is wanting to act like a horse and be the one who pulls the plow. A horse is a lot bigger than a dog, right? So a horse is also going to be a lot stronger than a dog. So that's why Willie is saying, you can't do this. You're not strong enough. It's a lot different than pulling me on a sled when it snows. But Searchlight, she had made up her mind. The potato plant grows about 2 feet high, but there are no potatoes on it. The potatoes are all underground. The plow digs up the plants and churns the potatoes to the surface, where they can be picked and put into sacks. So just a little side note, friends, that is actually true about potatoes. They grow underground. So just some knowledge for you. They grow underground. It took little Willie and Searchlight over 10 days to complete the harvest, but they made it. Either the dirt was softer than little Willie had thought, or Searchlight was stronger, because she actually seemed to enjoy herself. So they did it, but it took over 10 days. And the harvest was a big one, close to 200 bushels per acre. And each bushel weighed around 60 pounds. So boys and girls, here's a picture. We see the rows. We see little Willie with the plow. We see Searchlight pulling the plow. Okay. Today, friends, we use tractors, but back then they used plows, and some people still use plows. Okay. But normally horses or oxen pull it. Okay, not dogs, but Searchlight did it. Little Willie inspected the potatoes. He threw out the bad ones and put the rest into sacks. He then put the sacks into the underground shed. Mr. Leeks, a tall man with a thin face, riding a horse that was also tall and had a thin face, came out to the farm and bought the potatoes. Last year, Grandfather had sold the crop to Mr. Leeks, so that is what little Willie did this year. We made it, Grandfather, little Willie said, as tears of happiness rolled down his cheeks. See? Little Willie held up 2 handfuls of money. You can stop worrying. You can get better now. Grandfather put his hand down on the bed. What does this mean, friends? Yes or no? Palm down meant no. It was not the crop that he had been worried about. It was something else. Little Willie had been wrong all along. Okay, friends, that's the end of our chapter for chapter 2. That's all we're going to read today. But so Willie thought he had solved all the problems because he thought he had taken care of the crops. But grandfather was worried about something else. So for next time, be thinking, make some predictions. What do you think could be the reason why he put his palm down? What is he worried about? Think about that. What could a grandfather be worried about? Okay. And what do you think little Willie and Searchlight are going to do next to figure out how to make grandfather better? Okay. All right. So that is the end of my reading for you today, guys. Just a reminder, Wednesday at 1 o'clock, bring a show and tell. And I will send the link. I'll probably will still send that on Monday so we can make sure that everybody has it. Hey, I look forward to seeing all of my sweet friends' faces, all of your smiling faces. And if you need anything at all between now and then, you can message me, have your parents or guardians message me. But please know that I do love you. And like I said earlier, just because we will not meet face-to-face in person in the classroom again this school year, I'm still your teacher. I'm always here for you. And I do love you so much. And you will always be very special to me. Okay? And I will always be your second grade teacher. Okay. So Wednesday, 1 o'clock. Okay. I'm so excited. Show and tell. Bring it. And then we might have another planned thing for the next Wednesday. Okay. But I love you guys so, so, so much. Remember, you are loved. You are important. You are worthy. You are kind, and you are so smart. Okay? Repeat those to yourself because you are. Okay? I love you guys so, so, so much. Okay? And I miss you. And it was good to talk to you. I can't talk back, but we'll talk on Wednesday. Okay? All right, guys. Love y'all. Bye.